So today I'm showing you how to make this delicious blueberry bread pudding. It's low carb, keto friendly, PSMF. If you don't know what that is, stay tuned at the end of the video and I will give you a little bit more detail. And as always, the ingredients and instructions are going to be below the video after the description. So this is a really simple bread pudding. If any of you guys have ever made bread pudding, it's gonna look very familiar. The process of soaking the bread in the custard. And here what I'm doing is just putting in my dry ingredients so that I can mix them into the bread. This is cinnamon, ginger, and a little bit of salt. And the bread that I'm using is a protein bread, Maria Emerich's protein bread. It's she calls it her Wonder Bread, but it is high in protein and it's also keto. So I will link her recipe or her website as well here under the video, so you guys can see the original recipe if you want to make the bread. What I have here is actually a variation or my take on the protein bread. And I can show you guys in another video how I make it. So just mixed in all of the flavorings onto the bread and set it aside. And I'm just going to prepare the actual custard. So we're doing 2 large eggs and the equivalent to 2 egg whites. I'm just using the liquid egg whites, which is actually one of the ingredients that you will need to make Maria's protein-sparing modified Wonder Bread. I can't wait for you guys to try it. So, so all we're going to do here is you're going to go ahead and just break up your eggs and your egg white to start the custard. And the recipe calls for unsweetened vanilla almond milk. Make sure it's unsweetened. I didn't have any vanilla flavored almond milk, so I'm just going to go ahead and add vanilla. The recipe calls for about 2 teaspoons. I'm actually going to add here about 2 tablespoons because I really want to make sure the vanilla flavor comes through, since my milk that I'm going to use is not flavored with vanilla. And this is just my homemade vanilla. But you can use any vanilla or vanilla extract or imitation vanilla that you have at home. I love those jars, by the way. If anybody wants to know about the jars, leave me a comment below and I'll be happy to tell you where I got them. Pretty sure it was Amazon. I'll send you the link. And so what I'm using here is actually my homemade macadamia nut milk. I have a video that I have posted on the channel where I made the macadamia nut milk. And it's pretty simple, straightforward, easy. So, and it's really delicious, very creamy. So that's what I'm using here. And again, that's why I added more vanilla, because this milk was just unflavored. I like to just leave it unflavored because I use it for different things. And here I realized that my bowl where I was making the custard was a little bit too small to handle all the liquid I needed. So I just went ahead and started pouring what I have to soak those bread chunks. And the idea here is for this bread to sit and soak up the flavor so that it becomes, it picks up the flavor, the cinnamon, ginger, the custard, the vanilla, so that it will actually, soak it up and become very moist. And this bread is on the drier side, so this is even more important to make sure you have enough of that liquid So we're gonna go ahead and let this sit. We wanna let it sit for at least 20 minutes. I usually just let it sit 20 or 30 minutes. Here I'm just adding the rest of the milk because it didn't fit in the other bowl. And this is gonna make me be almost out of this milk, so I have to make some more. So as you can see, I'm not adding any xanthan gum or any thickeners, but you're welcome to. If you wanted to use xanthan gum, you could. I try to stay away from it. And this is my liquid stevia. I'm using about 4 dropperfuls of the stevia. This is the one from Trader Joe's, which is my favorite. And my bread, and this bread recipe actually is already sweetened. So I'm just adding extra sweetness, but if you would like to use another type of sweetener, you're welcome to. Stevia is just like my preference. I bet you some of that brown swerve sugar would be really good in here. So we're gonna set that custard aside, just letting that bread soak in all the flavors. And what I'm using here is 4-inch round ramekins. This is just gonna, make it easier for the portions. It'll already have its own individual portion. It makes 4. But if you wish to use another type of container and just dump it all in there and make like a casserole of this bread pudding, that's also a good thing to do. You can probably use like an 8x8 brownie pan. Just make sure you go ahead and you grease the bottom of it, whether it's with coconut oil or butter or any type of non-stick spray, so that you don't have these stick. So now that the mixture has set for a little while, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting them in the ramekins. So I'm just using a big spoon, whatever works. You can also use an ice cream scoop. And we're just gonna do equal parts of this mixture. Don't worry too much at the beginning about the liquid. Just, making sure that the bread chunks are going in there, and that you pretty much do the best you can to just equally fill these ramekins. Now make sure that your oven is preheated to 375. And as you can see, once I filled these all, I'm just going to go ahead and distribute the rest of the liquid. And there's still some pieces of the breads that I'm gonna distribute as well. And you're gonna see that the bread pieces, the bread chunks are not gonna be completely covered, and that's okay because they have been soaking in this custard mixture already, so that's gonna be fine. So just make sure you distributed them evenly. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and add our frozen blueberries. And this is about a cup of frozen blueberries. I took them out of the freezer maybe about 5 minutes before I was gonna use them. I didn't want them to start defrosting and then start bleeding more than they usually do. But if you don't have frozen blueberries or you prefer to use fresh blueberries, you're welcome to do that as well. It's gonna be delicious as well. I know there's, I believe it's Trader Joe's that carries like the wild blueberries. They're like very, very tiny blueberries. They're very, very tasty. So those would also be good. And then the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and use 1 lemon and just zest the lemon over the puddings. And make sure that you wash your lemon, whether it's organic or not. Make sure you wash it with some water and a little bit of vinegar before you do this. Don't skip this step, please. This really, really brings the flavor home. Blueberry and lemon, you can't go wrong with that combination. And then also at the end, I do put a little bit more cinnamon sprinkled on top because I love cinnamon. So that's just, you know, why not, right? Now you're gonna bake these puddings depending on your oven. My oven doesn't run too hot, so at 375 preheated oven, and I bake mine for between 35 to 45 minutes. They are gonna bubble up and spill over a little bit, which I love because then the ramekins become kind of like blue from the blueberries. And I just love how that looks. So yeah, make sure that you put them, don't put them directly in the oven or you'll have a mess. Put them on a sheet pan like I'm doing here. And they are gonna bubble over. It's gonna look like they're not done 100%, and that's exactly what you want. You don't want it to be completely dry. Bread pudding shouldn't be completely dry when it's done. Should be maybe a little jiggly or a little moist. So yeah, so put them in the oven at 375. Here they are going in the oven, and start smelling it. When they're ready, this is what they're gonna look like. See how they kind of bubbled over, and they will go down a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be delicious. I hope you guys enjoy it. And make sure to check out Maria Emerich's website. I'll put the link below. She is the expert when it comes down to PSMF, or protein sparing modified fast. And this is something that some of the keto individuals, who follow a keto lifestyle,